that says 19% of Gen Z has brought their parents along for a job interview. Yes, this is a true story. I'm gonna read you. First, I'll read you the Barstool one, which is so it shows this graph that was on Fox News. It says during job interviewers, employers say recent college graduates have, and then it lists like all of these things that people are struggling with. 53% have struggled with eye contact, asking for unreasonable compensation. I've heard that like Gen Z thinks that like $250,000 is a perfectly reasonable starting salary right out of college. Dressed inappropriately, but then you go all the way down to the bottom here. Brought a parent to their interview.
It's so weird.
19%. Yes. Thoughts on that? So what's interesting is when I read the part about eye contact, I saw some people talking about like, well, if you think about what COVID did, destroying people's ability to socialize and to learn how to interact with one another, a lot of them in their more formative years, like imagine you finished your last 2 or 3 years of college, social distancing and doing online classes and things like that. So that actually makes sense to me. It's just a depressing thing to make sense. Does anybody here have any reason they would understand as to why someone would bring a parent to an interview?
It's kind of what we were talking about, like the Chipotle thing. These people like don't know it. They don't know struggle, so they don't know how to do it anyway, any other way. Mom and dad have been there for every other aspect of their life, so why not a job interview?
Yeah. Like I can't actually imagine how awkward that would be to ask like my mom or my dad to come with you to your job interview. To come with me to a job interview. It says 1 in 4 Gen Zers have brought a parent to an interview over the past year, and roughly 1/4 have had their parents submit job applications on their behalf. So it really is just like that should actually be the easiest thing, because one of the things that college is supposed to teach you how to do is how to do the boring, inane, useless stuff that they train drone workers to do, right?
We need to bring back shaming people, because people have to be afraid of feeling shame. People don't even feel shame. The idea that an adult would say, I need to bring my parent to this job.
The parents said yes.
That should be immediately an employer should say, you're not right for this job.
Yeah.
You're sorry. No. If anyone ever said that, I've hired some people in my time. If anyone ever said that, my guitar tech needs to have his dad come with us on tour. No, you're not right for this job.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
This is not.
Yeah. And who are these parents that are saying yes to this?
That might be the bigger problem.
Embarrassing failures. That's who they are.
The bigger problem.
Embarrassing failures.
The parents who are like, that sounds
Straight
like
up.
a reasonable request.
You failed as a parent if your kid cannot go to a job interview on their own.
Because you clearly didn't raise the child.
Sorry.
Because it's still a child.
Yep.
It's still a child.
Like, you failed.
And I'm also almost just as bothered by refuse to turn on camera during a virtual interview.
No, I like that one.
But I mean, if you're asked to by
Interview?
a potential employer and they say no,
if it's a meeting, fine.
Yeah.
If it's an interview, no. Like if you're like if you're
how
like
you
Zoom's
interact
coming
with
or
the
whatever,
person is important to it.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
like if you're at a Zoom meeting and your company's cool with Zoom, most of the time people are like, it's fine if you don't have a camera on, because you can hear
Right.
maybe it's a mother
Sure.
that's breastfeeding, and that's
Yeah.
fine too. Like that shouldn't be a problem at all. But when it comes to the actual interview,
Posture.
turn that thing
I will
on.
say though, if the company refuses to do an in-person interview and they're forcing you to do a digital one, a virtual one, I think it's okay to keep
But
the
it may
camera
no.
off.
Usually,
But then,
what would
like,
happen
do
is
you really
that
wanna work
digital
there?
that Zoom interview would then lead to in-person interviews because it's a multi-step process.
Look,
Maybe.
Yeah.
what company,
True.
what they want to do is their business. I would never ever do.
right?
that.
Because what's happening too is they're saying, "Hey, can you turn on your camera?" and you are saying no to
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
So
That's
you're
true.
already right off the bat showing that you're not a very easy person to
you're
work
not,
with.
You're not a
You
team
know?
player.
Yeah.
I mean, what is it? And also, if you say no to a request as simple as "let's see your face," you're a freak show. Like you're a weird person, and you're probably
weird.
going to be a massive problem at the company. So GTFO anyways.
There's a comedian who like purposefully goes on all these different virtual job interviews and just bombs them on purpose. And like the one, he turns on the camera and he like cracks open a beer on the job interview.
Nice.
Yeah.
Look, there's other things here. It says overall 70% of the respondents sought their parents' assistance during the job search. Nearly half said that they did so because they felt that their parents' input on resume writing or job interviewing techniques were superior to their own. That's fine. If you're going to ask for your parents' help, like, could you help me with a cover letter? Could you help me with this?
Right.
Fine, I guess.
Yeah.
That's not saying, will you hold my hand in the waiting room of going to an interview?
There's nothing wrong with taking advice or help from
Correct.
someone else to get stuff in order to help you get a job. But when it comes to the actual getting of the job, going out there and doing the meeting of the person that is going to hire you, you have to be able to do that on your own. You, again, getting everything ready, you can have a whole team if you want. I don't have any problem with that at all. You can pay people to help you get yourself ready, but you still have to go in there and be able to discuss the job with the person that's hiring you, so the person that's hiring you knows that you know how to do the job. And you shouldn't be applying for jobs that you don't know how to do, because then you're just screwing the person that's going to hire you, and you're screwing yourself, because you're going to end up looking like a moron, and they're going to give you a bad review, and
Right.
Like, they also mentioned that people like not dressing appropriately for interviews, that's becoming more and more common, because a lot of jobs are just, they've been getting into fights with employees who are just pushing back on not wanting to wear what used to be considered work appropriate attire, because they don't think that there's ever since Silicon Valley and and asymmetrical work situations and stuff like that, they don't think that decorum matters anymore.
But look at what happened there.
It's not that they don't think it matters. It's that they don't understand it. It's not a thing.
You don't
for
think
these
you
people.
think it's that they just don't get it?
Yeah, they're like, what do you mean I'm dressed inappropriate? Yeah. They're like, they don't understand. That's not true for everybody, but I think probably a large number of them, like when you've got like the graphic tee, right? And you go to a job interview and they're like, you're not dressed appropriate. It's like, what? It's NASA.
There's somebody in the
They
chat.
just don't get it.
Somebody in the chat says pajamas are good enough for Walmart. It's good enough for this job. Look, that's actually true. I was at Walmart on Sunday, and there was somebody working in basketball shorts. I was like, that's the life, right there.
That's okay if you're in like the garden section. I feel like.
Well, I mean, he wasn't. He was just on the floor. But like, to be fair, we don't have like I can wear whatever I want to work, I suppose, within reason.
So are you saying is it because he was wearing shorts that you kind of think is silly, or like what if he had like cargo shorts on?
Well, no, he was wearing like basketball shorts.
But that's
it's not
also
the
why it's
shorts,
always
just
so
the-
hard to identify who actually works at Walmart.
Yeah.
Like
That's
when you
true.
have a question or
We
you
had
need
the
help
vest
finding
on.
something.
He had the
Okay.
vest on, but
Okay.
yeah.
That's why I won't wear red if I go to Target.
Yeah.
So, like, people are gonna think I work here.
I
Yeah.
worked at I have like I won't wear red at all because I worked at Target for like
Really?
6
I
years.
mistook someone for a Target manager once, and she got pissed.
The so
She was
like,
wearing red in a
when-
Target.
if you're like
Red
I don't know if they
collared shirt.
still do this, but up until a couple of years ago, like if you were working on the Target floor, or on the intercom, it would say like backup cashier needed at the front lanes. When it would say that, my brain would like switch on and I would start walking to the front, even though I didn't work there anymore. It's like it was like a limbic trigger where I would hear it and I'd be like, must go cashier. Yeah, like to this, it's like Zoolander. It's crazy. So be careful with that, and just look, we kind of did this to ourselves with the way that we've raised the new generation, and I think that to Phil's point earlier about we were talking about that it's the parents that didn't say no and tell them, there are some things in life that you're going to have to figure out for yourself, and like what else? So are you going to bring them along to propose to your significant other? Are you
not,
gonna-
I mean,
That's
not even
crazy.
figure
Maybe,
out
though,
Help raise
yourself.
your kids.
Just have to be able to do alone.
Yes.
Right? Like you don't have to fit. Well, there's not a lot of things in life that you have to figure out yourself. You can get help figuring things out for most things in your life. But there are certain things that you must do alone. Like if you want to go and compete, like if you any kind of individual stuff, like you can get the best trainers and have all kinds of people train you, and you can go with a bunch of people to spar and yada yada. But if you go out there and you're gonna spar with someone or do a competition or something like that, you have to do it alone. Those things there are things that require you doing them alone. You can have a bunch of help to get ready, but you have to be able to stand up and say, okay, I'm going to go do the job interview because I know what I'm doing. And the thing is, competence gives you confidence. That's why I said know what you're doing. If you know what you're talking about when it comes to your job or whatever, you go in there. The person that is going to hire you, if you really, really are competent, they're going to know, and they're going to be like, all right, this is the guy.
Yeah.
Clearly.
I wonder, like, is the litmus test like make sure like your kids can like once they're of age have like flown alone, like they've gone to an airport and navigated an airport on their own, right? Like you have to be able to figure out what time you have to be there. You have to figure out how to do how to check a bag, how to get your ticket ready, how to find the right gate and stuff like that. If you can't go to a job interview alone, I have a hard time believing that you can travel alone.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, that kind of feels the same because you have to be able to make it through, there's TSA.
A bunch of decisions that you have to make that might end up causing you, like, what do they blame it on ADHD now, but it's basically like decision paralysis. Like you can't make a choice and you freeze up, and which just sounds like a pathologizing of actual just incompetence towards certain things.
These aren't natural skills. Like these are skills that you should have learned as a child. And if these children have had their whole life just kind of handed to them, if they never had to struggle for anything, they don't know, they don't realize, they can't even comprehend these things like going to a job interview or navigating an airport. It's just their brain they've never been taught, and that's what I think most of it is, which is sad.
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that you were thrown into it back in previous generations, but we've worked so hard with technology to just kind of simplify our lives that we didn't realize what an effect that would have on the process of actually growing up and becoming an adult.
Most of the time when you try something new, there is an element of just being thrown into it, right?
Yeah.
Like if you learn a musical instrument, when you first sit down with it, you are definitely just being thrown into it because you don't know anything at all about, if you don't, especially like if you're coming off it like learning music, right? You don't know anything about music theory, you don't know anything about rhythm, you don't know anything about how you don't know the notes, you don't know anything. So you've got all kinds of stuff to learn.
Just doing is the best way to learn.
Absolutely. And it feels like you're being thrown in. So like going out, that's why the Nike Just Do It phrase and marketing thing was so successful, is because people took a second and thought, I do a lot of procrastinating and talking about when I'm going to do something, which actually gives you a dopamine hit if you talk about preparing, like all the preparation
we talk
stuff.
about that all the time.
Yeah.
Like it's one of the best ways to stop yourself from actually accomplishing something is to talk about your plans to accomplish it.
Exactly. So that will give you that will give you all of the rewards in your brain. Just so the whole point of Just Do It is stop talking about it, go out and do it, go fail, because you're going to have to fail. Yep. So if you want to learn something, go mess it up, go screw up doing it, and you'll learn.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.